He was a general, a revolutionary, an emperor. From humble beginnings on a small island, he rose to control most of Europe. And in the end, he died a prisoner, alone and forgotten. This is the rise and fall of Napoleon Bonaparte. Napoleon was born on August 15, 1769, in Corsica, just months after the island was taken by France. His family were minor nobles, but had little wealth. At age 9, he was sent to mainland France for military school. He excelled in mathematics, history, and, above all, strategy. Napoleon wasn't interested in fitting in. He was focused on winning. The French Revolution turned the world upside down and gave Napoleon his opening. At age 24, he made a name for himself by leading the French army to victory in Toulon. Soon after, he crushed a royalist uprising in Paris with what he called a whiff of grapeshot. At just 26, he led a stunning campaign through Italy, defeating larger Austrian forces and emerging as France's brightest star. In 1799, Napoleon staged a coup and seized power, becoming first consul of France. By 1804, he declared himself emperor, even taking the crown from the Pope and placing on his own head. This wasn't just a political move, it was a message. He reorganized the government, reformed education, created the Napoleonic Code, and began redrawing the map of Europe. Napoleon's armies were nearly unstoppable. At Austerlitz, he defeated the combined forces of Austria and Russia in what is still considered one of the greatest military victories in history. He installed his relatives as kings across the continent. But not everyone could be conquered. Britain remained defiant, and Napoleon's continental system, a trade blockade, failed to bring them down. In Spain, a brutal guerrilla war drained French strength. And in 1812, he made his greatest mistake. Napoleon invaded Russia with over 600,000 troops, the largest army Europe had ever seen. But the Russians refused to fight directly. They burned their own cities and retreated deeper into the country. By the time Napoleon reached Moscow, it was in flames and abandoned. Winter came early. Starvation, frostbite, and ambushes decimated his army. Fewer than 100,000 soldiers returned. It was the beginning of the end. After being forced to abdicate in 1814, Napoleon was exiled to the island of Elba. But less than a year later, he escaped and returned to France. Crowds cheered. Soldiers defected back to him. The king fled. Napoleon ruled again for 100 days. But Europe had seen enough. The British under the Duke of Wellington and the Prussians under General Blücher prepared to strike. Napoleon moved first, aiming to defeat them before they could unite. On June 18, 1815, near the village of Waterloo, the final chapter began. Rain soaked the battlefield the night before. Napoleon delayed his attack until midday, giving the Prussians time to arrive. Wave after wave of French troops stormed the British lines. Cavalry charges thundered across muddy fields. But Wellington's infantry held their ground. By late afternoon, the Prussians struck Napoleon's flank. As a final gamble, Napoleon sent in the Imperial Guard, his most elite troops. But even they were turned back. Crions out, la garde recule. The guard is retreating. Panic spread. The French army collapsed. Napoleon fled the battlefield. It was over. Napoleon surrendered and was exiled once more, this time to the remote island of St. Helena in the South Atlantic. Far from Europe, under British guard, he lived out his final years writing, dictating memoirs, and reflecting on his legacy. On May 5, 1821, he died, likely of stomach cancer, though theories of poisoning persist. He was 51. To some, he was a genius, to others a tyrant. But no one denies this. He changed history forever.
Empires crumble, kings are forgotten, but Napoleon became immortal.